everyone. My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about all the lawlessness, the chaos, the looting, the shooting, and everything else that's happening right now in Chicago, Illinois. Now, I know some may say, hey, ABL, Chicago is always violent. It's been like that since Al Capone and in the 80s in the drug war, and right now in the black and Hispanic areas in the South and the West. I get it. Chicago has very violent areas. The entire city is not like that, obviously, but it does have very violent areas. They've been like that for a long time. What you have right now today is an uptick in violence in an already violent place. All right. And it's not because of just, gang wars intensifying. It's not that. You have these so-called Black Lives Matter protests, which I think.
Well, you also have the coronavirus, which is ravaging the nation and causing economic stress amongst people. You do have the racial tensions going on politically and socially. And you have past generational tension that has built up. There's several reasons for what is going on to be going on, but you can't truly be against a riot, as the founding fathers of the United States rioted themselves, with the Boston Tea Party being the most notorious and celebrated. If the destruction of British tea was okay back then, well, destruction today is pretty okay, in my opinion, when fighting against a systematic oppression. So far, what has been going on recently has done a whole lot more to help than years in the past, in my opinion.
We all know, if you've been here for a while or if you just have a pair of eyes, we all know that these are not protests, these are riots. Simple as that. It ain't nothing else to it. I don't care if you went out there with a peaceful heart, that's fine, God bless you, but Black Lives Matter protests are riots. And we've seen proof of that all over the country, not just Chicago, Portland, Oregon, LA, New York, Philadelphia, parts of Florida, Georgia, everywhere. We've seen people get shot, killed. And the crazy part is that more black folks are getting shot and killed than anything else. And for all, let me know in the comments. All right, in Portland, Oregon, they've had an uptick in crime so much that in July 2020, they had 15 murders, which was half of their total from 2019, the entirety of the year, not just in July. But I'll get back on track. Chicago's doing really bad right now. Now, shout out to the police superintendent in Chicago, David Brown, for keeping it all the way real during a press conference. We'll get to that in a moment, so you're able to see what David Brown said, and also the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot. You'll see what she said. But before we get to that, you may recognize David Brown, the superintendent. He was the chief of police in Dallas, Texas back in 2016, the first time that Black Lives Matter reared their ugly head. All right. Now, some of you guys may say, oh, ABLers, peaceful protests, all this and that. Well, look, just because you're not out there shooting and killing and whatnot, the general rhetoric of defund the police, you hate the police, that, kind of invades the minds of those that are already on the edge. Michael Xavier Johnson was an example of that. He shot and killed, I think, 4 or 5 Dallas police officers because of the rhetoric that he had been fed by Black Lives Matter.
Wait, so he's trying to say that if you say defund the police and such, you are participating in violence because other people are committing violence? That's I don't think so.
He said it right there during the time he was shooting them. He was like, I'm upset about Black Lives Matter and white people in police. That was the motivation, was Black Lives Matter. Okay. And you're seeing more evidence of that. People are getting hurt. People are
Wouldn't you want to call him more of a lone wolf, which is what the normal rhetoric on the right when something like this happens and uh people white supremacists go out and kill people? What it is normally Republican talking point that the person is just a lone wolf. In order to separate said person from the rhetoric that they was fed, um, maybe the guy did shoot cops over what's been going on. I don't know the story that this guy is actually talking about.
on the edge because of all the violent, negative, hateful rhetoric coming from Black Lives Matter. Now, before I go any further, let's roll the clip from David Brown. You'll see what he said in response to a question about why the chaos is happening. And you'll see what Lori Dirtyfoot Lightfoot said. After we get done with that, I'll talk about what he said a little bit more, and also Lori Lightfoot. Then I'll give you my 2 cents, my deep detail analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
These looters act as if there are no consequences to their behavior. And they based that on what happened previously, that we made a lot of arrests during May and June. And not many of those cases were prosecuted to the fullest extent. And I think that's my point and the mayor's point. We have to have consequences for the arrests that Chicago police officers make through great threat to their own safety. They're being shot at to make these arrests. And these looters, these thieves, these criminals are emboldened by no consequences in the criminal system. They get released. Many charges get dropped. And so they feel emboldened to do it more. That is not a consequence of the officers not making the arrest. The officers are making the arrest. The consequences are once prosecution and sentencing comes up, there's no consequence. So we would argue that let's have the criminal justice system here deliver a strong message to these criminals that there will be consequences for your behavior.
Okay, replace looters with cops, and we will be able to solve a lot of the problems Black Lives Matter is trying to solve. Because cops who get caught committing crimes tend to not get punished or get very light punishment for it. So that emboldens them to do even greater crimes to the point where they're creating gangs and killing people. So why is it that cops can apply the laws and logic to people fighting against systematic police brutality and injustice, yet cannot use that same logic and such on themselves? In my opinion, these cops need to start shaping up, or what's going to happen will also still get worse, because justice needs to be served, and the justice is a reform of the corrupt police departments all around the nation.
It almost sounds as though you're saying this is the reason we happen is because the courts and the prosecutors were not doing their job, that they were going too easy on the looters from the last time around.
Don't take it from me. Just go by what's been done. I don't want to do your job for you, but just go by what's been done. There were no consequences for the people arrested.
Greg, let's be clear. I mean, don't bait us, okay? This is do not bait us. Do not bait us. This is a serious situation. People are concerned about their safety. Officers are concerned about their safety. So don't bait us.
Black people are concerned about their safety all the time. And when these concerns are put forth to uh, their city, state, or federal leaders, what happens? They're ignored. And then when it gets to the point where people want to actually fight back, because when peaceful protesters are ignored, um, revolution is pretty much their only resort. Uh, you get people like this who, all they care about is the concerns of the cops, not the actual concerns of everybody else. Uh, this is, it's not just cops that are corrupt, but it's various city officials and stuff that help allow the corruption to go on. Because it's not just, the corruption isn't just located in one part of the system, but the entire system itself.
What we're saying is, as a result of what happened last night, there have to be consequences. We've got teams of people that are aggressively out there identifying the people responsible, looking at the plates, and we're going to bring them to justice. But when we do, and we do make those arrests, our expectation is that this is going to be treated with the level of seriousness that it should be, period. Don't try to bait us, mischaracterize, pit one against the other. We're not playing that. We are in a serious situation here, and we need a serious response. That's what we're saying, period.
You need a serious response when a neighborhood of wealthy businesses are looted, but there doesn't need to be a serious response when you find out your entire department of cops are corrupt. That's no problem whatsoever.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, shout out to him for keeping it all the way real. It's kind of a coincidence that he's been brought into Chicago. Maybe it's a coincidence, maybe it's not, maybe it is. Maybe they understood that it's 2020, it's an election year. You may have BLM return, so you have experience with BLM, you survived. Well, didn't survive, but you were there as a chief during a mass shooting, during some BLM stuff, during an election year. You can come over here to Chicago and help get some things going on. What he's saying is right on point. It's different than Portland. In Portland, you just have law enforcement that can't really do anything. They got their hands tied. They can't even arrest anybody. Okay, they can't really do much. And I think, what was that, Minneapolis or Milwaukee, you can't even use pepper spray to disperse crowds. So he's saying a different thing in Chicago.
Cops shouldn't even be using pepper spray to begin with, as pepper spray is something that has been banned, and the use of war as being considered it's illegal because it's considered torturous to use on the battlefield, which if you notice, there's a lot of things that are considered illegal on the battlefield that are used against protesters, like the LRAD, or the Long Range Acoustic Device, that was also used in the Occupy protests. It is considered illegal on the battlefield because it is considered to be a device of torture.
So they're able to arrest people. I think they had 100 arrests that happened over the weekend as a result of 200 plus stores getting looted. However, if these guys and girls that get arrested don't get prosecuted and charges get dropped, thanks to the radical DA or whatever she is, Kim Fox, the same lady that was involved in Jussie Smollett, not prosecuting him, remember her? As long as people like that are there, what can the police do? The police doing their job. They're not necessarily having their hands tied. But if guys are getting arrested, not even really going to the penitentiary or jail at least, they're pretty much getting caught and released like fish out there on a pond. What are you really going to do?
Just like with the previously, if cops who are caught on camera murdering people don't get charged and convicted, sent to the penitentiary, what are people supposed to do? That is a really good question. I mean, because consistently you have cops on video murdering black people, and nothing really happens. 9 times out of 10, the grand jury doesn't convict, and even if they do get arrested, a lot of times, they get either a light sentence or they go free. So if this happens decade after decade, people eventually are going to get upset over the fact that so many people are being killed and nothing happens about it.
You got to have some actual consequence come as a result. And the reporter was asking good questions. He was like, look, okay, it's not like what you're saying is you got the prosecutors and the judges not doing their job. Okay, and that's correct. He was 1,000% correct. Now, I don't know why Dirtyfoot got offended because, I mean, did she appoint them? Are they her friends? People like Kim Fox and them, are they her friends? I don't really know. That's the only reason why you get offended. It wasn't bait. This is a legitimate question. If the police commissioner or superintendent, whatever they want to call him in Chicago, the chief, David Brown, if he's saying, look, we are doing our job, but they're not getting prosecuted. Obviously, what he said is the judges, the DA, people that are above us that deal with the legislative or judicial part, they're not doing their part of it. We're doing our part, but they're not doing theirs. So if we arrest them for the looting and they get out in less than 24 hours, they'll be right back on the street to do it again. It's going to encourage them to do it again. They know that they might not get caught. If they do get caught, it won't even be a crime. They'll get sent right back to the street to do it all over again. And these guys are breaking into stores not for bread, like the world famous AOC said, not for bread. You don't break into a Tesla store to get packs of bread, okay? You don't do that. And I saw plenty of
There ain't no real need to worry about Elon Musk, as he gets a lot of his money from government welfare. The only thing that will happen is the government will give him a bunch of money to fix up the damage.
of obese people out there eating them food stamps up, right? First of the month just happened. They already went to Walmart and got their cart stocked to the top, overflowing, having food drop on the ground as it go through aisle 3, okay? They got their cart full of just junk. They got plenty of food to eat. They don't need any bread. They're breaking into the Tesla trying to get a car. I don't know what they're trying to do.
What's his, I don't understand his jab at poor people on welfare when he's up in arms over a over a rich guy on welfare.
They're trying to get cell phones and sell them on Craigslist and eBay and them. They're trying to do just some basic criminal activity. All right. You got the Antifa and BLM. These are politically motivated people. They got actual things they got going on. You got business money behind them. People getting paid to come out and do certain things. You have that happening. And you also have just.
Wait, is he saying protesters are being paid to protest? Because that is not what is happening. He must believe in the George Soros paid leftist protest movements conspiracy.
The people that just trying to get money, the locals that come in and trying to just steal. That's what's happening with that. If you don't lock them up, if there's no actual criminal penalty for that kind of action, it will continue. It's not really hard to understand. I'm not Albert Einstein. This is not rocket science. It's very simple. So shout out to the police superintendent, David Brown, for saying that. And the mayor, she has a lot of blame here to put on her own back. All right. Because she's not really trying to bring in the National Guard. And obviously, you're going to need some more help to get things under control. You need more police on the streets. You also need to get rid of some of these judges and whatnot that are in there just doing whatever they want to do. People like Kim Fox, who can fire her, I'm not really sure. Is it the mayor? Is it the governor? Man, you got to get somebody on board because they're not doing their jobs at all. You got to get competent people in there that know what they're doing in order to have this whole thing go right. Simple as that. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that the issue with Chicago and